buy land, they're not making it anymore. This phrase is often attributed to the American author and humorist Mark Twain, and while there's some debate over whether or not he actually said it, it rings true as a foundational piece of advice in real estate. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to The Vault, a podcast devoted to exploring the secrets to building wealth. I'm your host, Jen, and this episode is about wealth creation through real estate. To start this episode, let's throw out a few key facts and figures to set the stage. A commonly quoted statistic, often attributed to Andrew Carnegie, is that 90% of millionaires became so through owning real estate. Another figure of note is that housing is consistently the largest monthly expense for the average American household, accounting for nearly a third of total spending, currently over $2,000 a month, on average. While this figure includes rent or mortgage payments, insurance, property taxes, and utilities, it is clear that housing takes up a large position in the global economy. In fact, for lower-income households, housing costs can exceed half of monthly expenses. Another figure: while real estate stocks and related investments only make up between 2 and 5% of the U.S. stock market, commercial real estate takes up about 13% of the economy. And real estate and housing-related activities comprise about 15% of U.S. GDP. Owning land has been key to building wealth throughout history. The two most often noted, largest landowners in the world are the British Crown, with more than 6.6 billion acres across the Commonwealth and British-held territories, or about 1/6 of the Earth's land surface, and the Roman Catholic Church, with about 177 million acres, including churches, schools, and commercial properties. Land ownership has historically been and continues to be a foundational source of social status, wealth, and income. On a more relevant scale, homeownership has been a tremendous source for building wealth in the modern age. For most homeowners, it is not only their largest expense, but also their largest investment and asset. As of 2026, the median home price in the United States is just over $400,000, and the average price of a new home is about $500,000. A good adage in the financial world is, go where the money is. If around 90% of millionaires got that way by owning or investing in real estate, and because such a large portion of the economy is centered around real estate and housing, then real estate might be a place you want to look in order to build wealth. Key to building wealth in real estate and through home ownership are many factors. First is leverage. Homes and land are often bought with large mortgages and low interest rates, so property can often be purchased with only a fraction of the stated value. Next is a fixed supply. As we said, they're not making it anymore. And as the world population booms, housing and land use become increasingly competitive. Real estate also generally provides solid investment returns. On average, long-term real estate holdings typically yield annual returns of around 10%, often matching or outperforming the stock market. This is from income generation as well as appreciation in property value. In addition to increasing property value, home ownership acts as a forced savings account. Instead of paying money away as rent, buying a home requires that one pay the mortgage, thereby building equity in the property. Real estate also has various tax benefits. These potentially include depreciation deductions, deducting mortgage interest, operating expenses, and property taxes from taxable income, and by using 1031 exchanges to defer capital gains. Owning property can also create significant cash flow. Commercial and residential rental properties can potentially provide consistent income. While managing properties may require some work, this income is normally considered passive income, and this income can help build equity in the property, or generally increase the owner's net worth. Building streams of passive income is something we will focus on in this podcast. Land and property have historically been considered potentially safe, long-term assets and investments. Owning land provides a foundation for building current wealth, as well as legacy wealth. As we've stated previously, ownership and time are key components of wealth generation. And as the world population grows and development increases, the intrinsic value of land and property will, hypothetically, grow forever. This is why real estate is often considered a hedge against inflation. Both rent prices and property values often rise along with inflation. Fixed supply, financial leverage, historically consistent investment returns, income potential, building of equity, forced savings, tax benefits, and inflation protection. These are just some of the many reasons why real estate, homeownership, and investment properties remain a primary component of the asset portfolios of the wealthy. As we said, many millionaires achieved that status through homeownership and real estate investment. So while real estate is an obvious path to building wealth, there are clear reasons why many people do not or cannot follow that path. Many people cannot afford to buy a home, and renters often pay a much larger portion of their income toward rent than homeowners pay toward their mortgages, on average about 30% versus 20%. It may seem that renters are throwing money away, but many do not have the income or the credit scores to get approved for mortgages. Another reason is flexibility and mobility. For occupational reasons, school, or family reasons, some people are not in positions to plant their feet and remain in the same place long term. There are also lower upfront costs when renting, lower overall financial commitment, and freedom from maintenance responsibilities and major repairs. But there are ways to invest in real estate without the major financial burdens and personal involvement. One of those ways is through REITs, real estate investment trusts. REITs exist for all kinds of real estate investment, residential and commercial. REITs are companies that own, operate, or finance income-producing properties. They're similar to mutual funds. REITs can own offices, malls, apartment buildings, etc. REITs are required to own and invest in real estate, and they must pay out their income to shareholders as dividends. Two of the biggest benefits of REITs are diversification and liquidity. REITs generally own numerous properties in their portfolios, and they often can be bought and sold quickly on the open market, just like stocks. And, of course, there are real estate-focused publicly traded stocks, like home builders, construction companies, and mortgage lenders. So real estate as an investment is actually quite approachable, even if you don't directly buy a property. If you do buy a property, there are methods to potentially build even greater wealth, such as buying a property, renting it for income, using that income to build equity, and then leveraging that equity to purchase another property. Buy, rent, equity, repeat. Or buy a duplex, live in one half and rent out the other for income. Or buy a larger house and rent out a room or two. Real estate offers an infinite number of ways to build wealth. As with anything, there are risks involved. But history has shown that real estate, through home ownership or through investment, has created large amounts of wealth, and it has produced countless millionaires. If real estate is not at least on your radar as a potential path to building wealth, perhaps it should be. We will explore many topics related to real estate in this podcast, among other wealth-building techniques. Be sure to subscribe and follow in order to receive new episodes as they are posted. Thank you for listening to this episode of The Vault. Join us regularly for more secrets to building wealth.